Hey everyone, welcome to homework 3.14. Today we are looking at, some of our increase and decrease by percents. So you've seen some of this already, so this is more of a review, but we're going to practice it a little bit more. So a person's salary is $2,500 per month. She receives a 10% raise. What is her new salary in dollars per month? So this is the expression she'd use only multiplication. If she's getting a raise, then her new salary will be 110% of what it was before. So this will be multiplied by 1.10. And then that will give us our new salary. So we can go ahead and calculate that. 2,500 times 1.1, which gives us 2750. A test of 40 questions, the student answered 85% of the questions correctly. How many questions did the student answer correctly? So in this case, the student answered 85% of the questions correctly. So we can do 40 times, and in this case, we're going to do 0.85 because this tells us how many questions the person answered correctly. That means that they answered 34 of the questions correctly. If it asks how many questions did the student answer incorrectly, then we could do the opposite of 40 times 0.15 equals, and then 40 times 0.15. Seeing this, you should be able to reason that it would be 6, and it is in fact 6. A telephone costs $250, the sales tax is 7.5%, so the total cost is going to be 107.5%, or 107.5. So 250 times 1.075, 250 times 1.075 gives us $268.75. And that makes sense. It should be more, and not a ton more, but it should be, 7.5% more of what it originally was. In June, a family used 3,500 gallons of water. In July, they used 15% more water. Select all the expressions that represent the number of gallons the family used in July. So this would be 3,500 times 1.15, or 115%. So we can also write that as A, because that's the original amount plus the 15% of 3,500. We cannot write it as B, because that's just adding a decimal to it. We cannot make it be C, because we're not losing here, we're using more. It could be D, because that's if we factor this out, and it could be E. This here shows 3,500 times 1 plus 0.15 will give you the same amount as this one here. Hans' summer job paid him $4,500 last summer. This summer he will get a 25% pay increase from the company. Write two different expressions to find his new salary. So we could write this as 4,500 plus 4,500 times 0.25, or you can write this as 4,500 times 1.25. Number 4, military veterans receive a 25% discount on movie tickets that cost $16. Explain why 16 times 0.75 represents the cost of the ticket, and that's because it is 100% minus 25% gives us 75% remaining cost, right? So 75% of the remaining cost is the cost without the discount, or with the discount. A new car costs $15,000 and the sales tax is 8%. Explain why 15,000 times 1.08 represents the cost of the car including tax. So you could write this as 15,000 plus 15,000 times 0.8% is the same as 15,000 factored out times 1 plus 0.08. Okay, that's the same because we can factor 15,000 out from both of these. And so that also equals 15,000 times 1.08 if we add what's in the parentheses. Number 6 says the number of grams of a chemical in a pond is a function of the number of days D since the chemical was first introduced. The function is defined by this equation. What is the average rate of change? Okay, so this is going back to average rate of change or slope. Remember that is your y sub 2 minus your y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we're going to substitute in 7 and 0. And 7 minus 0 is simply 7 because we're doing this over a 7-day period. So let's first substitute in 7 because that's our later value, or our y sub 2. So we have 550 times 0.5, 0.5 to the power of 7, which is 4.2, we'll round that to 4.30, okay, minus 550 times, it says between day 0, so 0 with power would be 1, so minus 550. So let me actually clear that. Minus the answer, 4.296875, minus 550 gives us negative 545.70, and that is then divided by 7, which gives us negative 77.96, which means that this is changing negatively. It's going down, it's decreasing the amount on average of negative 78, right? Decreasing 78 grams per day. It says is the average rate of change a good measure for how the amount of chemical in the pond has changed over the week. So remember that no, typically for 7 days it would not be because the rate of change is greater at the beginning, right? That first day it's going to lose half of it, and so 550 divided by 2 gives us 275, right? So it's going to lose 275 in the first couple of days. And then at the end, it's going to be less. Right, if we look at days 6 to 7, that's going to be a very small change that actually happens. We calculated day 7, so day 6 would be 550 times 0.5 to the power of 6, which is 8.59. So that is a change of about 4, right? And so for the end of that, it's a very small amount. In the beginning, it's 250 or 275. It's a much bigger amount. All right, a piece of paper is 0.004 inches thick. It's very thin. Explain why the thickness in inches t is a function of the number of times the paper is folded. And that's because for each fold, there is only one measure of thickness. So as an example, if I fold the paper one time, it's going to be a 0.008. It's not going to be another level of thickness. It's going to be the same amount regardless. If I fold it 2 times, right, it's going to be double that. It says using function notation, represent the relationship between t and n. That is, find a function f so that t equals f of n. So t is the thickness, okay? So we're going to say t equals, that's our function, and the number of times folded is n. So that'll be what we're starting with. So our starting amount is 0.004. Every time we fold a piece of paper, it doubles in thickness, right? So this would be times 2 for our factor to the power of n. Again, this is our starting amount. This is the factor. It's being multiplied by 2 each time. And this is the number of folds that we are doing. Number 8 says the function f represents the amount of medicine in milligrams of a person's body t hours after taking the medicine. Here's the graph of f here. How many milligrams did the person take initially? So that's our starting amount, which is 80. Write an equation that defines f. So we'll say f of t equals 80 times. Now, when we get to 2, it's going down to 20. So we will need to be thinking about what is happening at 1. So what makes the most sense is for it to be going down to 40, because then it would half again and go down to 20. Then it would half again and go down to 10, and then go half down again and go down to 5. So our factor here is 0.5 or 1/2, and then to the power of hours or t time. After 7 hours, how many milligrams of medicine remain in the person's body? So we would plug in 80 times 0.5 to the power of 7. So let's go ahead and do that. And we get 0.625. So very small amount by the time we get over here at about 7 hours. Match each inequality to the graph of its solution. Write the equation under the graph. All right, so this is a review and an important one because you cannot forget your inequalities, even though you are now on to something else, okay? So to do this, the main thing that we need to do is, one, we can see that all of these are less than or greater than or equal to, which means we have solid lines for all of them. So we can't use that to help us. Instead, what we're going to do is put this into slope-intercept form because we need to compare the slope and the y-intercept. To do that, remember, we're solving for y. So I'm going to do minus 3x on both sides. I'll end up with 4y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 36. Okay, so remember we can combine those in that way. And then I need to divide by 4. And everything that I do on one side I have to do on the other. So we get y is less than or equal to negative 3/4 x plus 36 over 4, which is 9. So here, my y-intercept is a positive 9. It's a negative slope of 3 over 4. That helps me tremendously here because I can see that there's two graphs in which that is the case. This one here and this one here. But we need to look at the slope. It's saying down 3 over 4. So if I start at 9 and I go down 1, 2, 3, and over 2, 4, this slope seems to work pretty well. The question then is it less than or equal to? Well, the under part of this is shaded. If I plug in 0, 0, 0 plus 0 is less than or equal to 36. So that works, and this side is shaded. Let's take a look at this one. Here, the slope seems to be going down 1, 2, 3, and over 2. So that'd be 3 over 2. And our slope is 3 over 4. So this one would be A. 3x plus 4y is less than or equal to 36. Letter B, let's do the same thing. We're going to subtract 12x on both sides, so that'll cancel out. We'll get 3y is less than or equal to negative 12x plus 36. And then we can divide both sides by 3. Here now I get a slope of negative 4 and a y-intercept of 12. All right, so negative 4 means it's also going down. It means our y-intercept is going to be up above. The only one that suits that is here, right? If we were to look at, let's choose this spot on the line and then choose another spot down here. We're going down 2, 4, 6, 8, and over 2. 8 over 2 is the same as negative 4. So this slope works out well here and also fits the criteria. So this one is 12x plus 3y is less than or equal to 36. Letter B. Letter C, we're going to subtract 6x on both sides again. We'll get 4y is greater than or equal to negative 6x plus 36, and then divide by 4. So here we get y is greater than or equal to negative 6 over 4x plus 36 divided by 4 is 9. So here is where we also have a slope that is negative and a y-intercept of 9. So that leaves us with this one. We can check to make sure we're going down 3 over 2. 1, 2, 3, and over 2. That slope looks good. And so this one will be C, 6x plus 4y is greater than or equal to 36. Oh my, it's doing all kinds of fun things there. So let's plus 4y. All right. Now let's look at this one here. So here we're going to subtract 3x on both sides. So we'll get negative 9y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 36. Now for this one, I'm dividing by a negative 9 on both sides. So remember, when I divide by a negative with a inequality, I have to flip my sign. It's going to be y is less than or equal to negative 3 divided by negative 9 is going to be 1/3 x, and 36 divided by negative 9 will be negative 4. So here we have a y-intercept of negative 4, and we're going up 1 and over 3. This one here looks like the closest one, and we're saying it's less than or equal to. So if I were to plug 0, 0, which should not work, 0 less than or equal to -4 is not true, so this side would be shaded. And that means that this equation works nicely for this one. D 3x minus 9y is greater than or equal to 36. Okay, and again, we see that because we have a -4 y-intercept here, and we are going up 1 and over 3 in order to get our slope. All right, let's try this one. We have -4x on both sides. Again, we're going to have a positive slope here because we're going to divide negatives. So -6y is less than or equal to -4x plus 36. Divide both sides by -6. When we do that, we have to flip our sign. And so we get y is greater than or equal to 2/3 x plus, minus 6, because this is divided by -6, minus 6. So here that leaves us with e, which you could have done by process of elimination, but it's also important to make sure you know why that works. Oh, yes, okay. And then if we were to plug in 0, 0 here, that should work. So 0 minus 0 is less than or equal to 36. Check, that works out perfectly. All right, that is it for your homework. Your code word for today is passion fruit. Passion fruit, you can put that at the top of your paper. I am going to go back just to look at this problem here from classwork in case you needed help with it or you did not get to finish it. This is an example of a park problem that was released some years ago, but it's an example of the type of problem you might see on Park, and it also is represented in what we saw today in class. So here it's saying if we have this formula and it shows the value of the system in dollars depreciating, which means going down, what does this term mean? So it says the value of the system will be $0 in 12.5 years. No, that has nothing to do with years. When we see this in parentheses and to an exponent, that means that it's a percent we're looking at, right? The value of the system will decrease by $12.50. No, it's not a dollar amount. The value, and it's not linear either, so we know that that can't be true. The value of the system will decrease by 12.5% each year. Ooh, that one looks good, but remember I told you we need to read all of the possible questions, so let's take a look. This one looks good so far. The value of the system will continue to decrease for 125 years. No, the years would be in this part of the formula there for y, and so that is not true, so we were correct that C is correct. Now the factor here would be 1 minus 0.125, so 1 minus 0.125, just going to leave us with 0.875, and it represents that 87.5% will remain in value each year. Right, so each year we'll still have 87.5%. We're losing 12.5% each year. All right, that's it for that. If you need any help, feel free to reach out. If you have any questions, please let me know. Happy homeworking and see you tomorrow.